then we were treated to this. So the first sign of trouble, at least, you know, in regards to public opinion, was the cover art. Bioshocks 1 and 2 featured Big Daddies, which were golems, basically, that existed entirely to protect the little sisters who had Adam, and Adam was the important currency down there, etc., blah, 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 blah. But the Big Daddy was prominent on both of them. The first game cover was just a standard Big Daddy, and the second game was you played as the Big Daddy in Bioshock 2. So those were unique and engaging covers. They had nothing to do with the protagonist, this or at least the first one did, and then it was just this character that was foreboding and ominous and sort of scary. And then Bioshock Infinite comes out, and the box art's just some token white dude holding a gun. Uninspired and just kind of indicative of what's to come. Now, I don't want to spoil too much because there's a lot to chew on in this game. There's a lot of changes, there's lots of decisions, and most of them do not work. And we will get into why as we play through it. But let's get through the setup process, and we can really just kind of knuckle down and tackle what I think is one of the most misguided games I've ever played. So I wanna kind of preface the rest of this game with, if you really hate, like, fart-sniffingly bad, self-aware, I'm really smart writing, this game's gonna piss you off. Because this game really thinks it's smarter than it really is. It punches on a weight that's beyond its scope. Hell yeah, let's get some money out of the trash can. Who throws money in the trash? Okay, alright. No, you're right. But I wasn't talking the metaphorical trash. I meant the absolute literal trash. If we were going to talk about who throws money into the metaphorical trash, yeah, the entire U.S. military, the U.S. government in general. We're gonna take all your tax money and we're gonna put it into this fucking F-35 that's gonna blow up on the tarmac. Whoopsie daisy. Well, there goes $3 trillion that we could have used to feed kids in schools and provide health care to literally everybody, or hell, $3 trillion, you could you could house everybody on $3 trillion. There's gonna be a lot of soapboxing and self-righteous yelling during these streams. Because our country is so unbelievably, ridiculously, comically fucked up. And the systems that we're stuck in are so fucking unbelievably stupid. Here we go.
And now, the 1912 raffle has officially begun!
Mister!
Sorry, no sale.
Silly? There's never a charge for the raffle. You've been sleeping under a rock?
77.
77. That's a lucky number. I'll be rooting for you.
Bring me the bowl! Is that not the prettiest young white girl in all of Columbia?
Subtlety!
The winner is number 77!
Oh, what do you know?
Over here! He's the winner!
Number 77, come and claim your prize! First throw!
It was me! It was all me! Please! Please! Please, what are you doing?
Come on! Are you gonna throw it? Or are you taking your coffee black these days?
No, please! I'm the one you want!
Looks like we've got a shy one here.
Yeah, so, this game is about racism. And you wanna know what I'm gonna choose?
Why don't you give her a throw?
Bitch.
Wait.
It's him!
Now, where'd you get that brand, boy? Don't you know that makes you the backstabbing snake in the grass false shepherd? And we ain't letting no false shepherd into our flock. Show 'em what we got planned, boys! Stop him! Stop him! The false shepherd's come to lead our lamb astray!
So yeah, if you didn't pick up on all the subtle clues, when you see a skull on the enemy, you can hold triangle to finish them. So yeah, if you didn't like that, I hate to tell you that there's more where that came from.
That wasn't no sample.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, Burger. This game's big problem is not. I mean, obviously the presentation's not great, and you can do cartoonishly racist and still, you know, be able to make a point. The problem that I have with this game is that its exaggeration of racist, like, caricatures and tropes and things like that clash with its attempts to be a serious narrative. And not only that, like, there's gonna be more we'll talk about, obviously, as we go in, but that's my starting issue with this game, is that it tries too hard to mesh different styles that just do not work together, and it severely undercuts the message they're trying to put forward.
It's between life and death.
Yeah, the way Zootopia made its racial metaphor, basically saying, you know, that carnivores are essentially people of color, and the herbivores are white people, and then they kind of basically just go and fall into the trap of, you know, the super predator. Literally the super predator. That's what certain white people want to say about black people, that, you know, that they're a threat, they're violent, they're gonna hurt you, and that's literally what Zootopia just plays right into that hand. It's so frustrating. It's just really funny how they try to play races. Racism itself as a philosophy or an ideology is incredibly fucking stupid. Just on its head, it's fucking stupid. It makes no sense. It's not rooted in any fact or reality. It is, with all intents and purposes, comically stupid. But the way this game tries to present it is very slipshod. Because the start is just basically like, whoa, guess what? These white people are really racist. Isn't that terrible? And you're like, well, yeah, but I agree that racism is bad, but you have nothing else to say on it? Like, if all you've got is racism is bad, well, sorry to say, that tale been told. Yeah, there's something to be said for that. Like I always say, you know I have very strong convictions and feelings, but I'm always open to my interpretation either being wrong or just not quite being there. What I worry most about the way this game is doing this is, you know, in terms of religion, I try very hard to find a positive side of it, just because of how often religion is used to harm people. And like deep down, most religions are pretty interesting, if not, good-hearted. And then it really just comes down to, general humanity, people being absolute trash and misinterpreting things, or just straight up seeing what they want to see. And for me, it's hard to really be like, oh yeah, no, if a person's a Christian, there's a high chance that they might be racist. And that's what I feel like this game is trying to say. Is just, there's a good chance that if somebody's religious like this, they're also going to be racist. I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that. Yeah, this obviously the writing and the metaphors, they're all hacky. This game is hacky all the way down to its rotten, crappy core. And, it's just a lot of ill feelings I get towards it, from the overemphasis on the gore and violence, as opposed to Bioshocks 1 and 2, where, I don't know, they just felt less violent than this. This one just feels like they went doubling down on the violence, and I'm not one to shy away from violence. I'm fine with violence. Some of my favorite properties are ultra violent, and I'm a horror movie buff, but the violence in this game, there's something about it that just feels like it doesn't belong. And the big thing for me is this hook thing where you like grab it and you jam it into a person's head, or you put it in their throat and cut their head off. Like, it just seems so unnecessarily gratuitous. But yeah, for the most part, like, visually, I like this game. And if we were to look past this game's issues with messaging, it's lampooning of, your typical racist white person is actually not too far off. Yes, it's a little exaggerated and, sort of comical, but I mean, as we listen to these audio logs, I'm sure we've all seen or heard somebody who's spoken like that, who's thought like that, who's debated and argued like that.
What color were his eyes?
Blue. No, green.
So, this game suffers from a number of issues. Its biggest problem is its narrative is fucking terrible. And not just...
It's the Monument Island.
Yes, shut up. Booker, shut the fuck up. Okay, so the biggest problem isn't just, that racism gotcha, where it's just kind of out of nowhere. They're like, oh, but look how racist they actually are. There's the big twist. And first of all, that's really not much of a twist. And second of all, that twist has been done way better by other people already before this game. But the other thing too is this game doesn't quite understand racism. It obviously, the game starts out trying to sort of be a parody of racism. The people we just dealt with, obviously they're racist. They're terrible people. There's no question about it. And there was the underpinning of racism because you didn't see any. Okay, I'm gonna pause it so I can actually talk and not have the game try to talk over me. So it starts off with these underpinnings of racism because everybody you meet up to that point is white. And then they do the whole minstrel show thing, and that's supposed to be shocking. But it's not. It's not, because basically the game sort of tries to lead up with this extremely over-the-top whiteness, right? That's extremely over-the-top. And then it tries to, go, now we're going to be serious about how bad racism is. And you can't go like that. It's too jarring. And it doesn't actually have anything to say about what's happening. It's just, oh, you can either be racist along with them, or you can not try to not be racist. Either way, they grab your arm and they attack you. So the choice in that whole section is literally nonsensical. There's no reason to have had it other than, I guess, to let some people, for a brief glimmer, feel like they can follow through on some of their more racist feelings. But that's what that section is. It's literally just a gotcha. It's just a stupid gotcha moment. And that makes it even worse because instead of it being satirical or parody, it's exploitation. And that's what this game starts off on, is it builds this foundation of exploitation and using racism as a way to sort of emotionally bait the player instead of tackling the issue or commenting on the issue. And you're going to see more of that as we play. So yes, after that whole, hello racism section, then the racism is more like they're doing less of the minstrel show in front of your face kind of thing, and so they hint at it more and more. And that's what they should have done from the beginning. Like, that whole minstrel show segment was fucking stupid, and is probably one of the worst attempts to address racism I've ever seen. It just comes off insulting. Especially when it gives you a choice to throw the ball at the couple or at the jerk bag. And it's like, you shouldn't even make that a choice. That should just be a thing that he does. Because, like, we're not playing a Telltale game here. This isn't create your own Booker DeWitt. Just give him his own agency and stick with it. Like, sometimes choices in games are totally okay, and sometimes choices feel like the writers were a little too scared to commit. Now, that's not necessarily a major condemnation, but it is something that I find is worth criticism. What's over here? Cotton candy, money. Cotton candy is one of those interesting things where it's like, it's good, but also incredibly pointless. Because it's just sugar.
We have a piece of photographic identification ready for presentation.
But does that done with it?
What is happening?
Well, yeah, because it's literally just sugar. A reminder that doing the ironic thing is still doing the ironic thing. Especially when you have nothing to say about the ironic thing.
Hey, I found these silver eagles. There's a vending.
See, I guess this is the only difference with the start is that these two get to appear here if you choose to not attack them. I don't know. I don't know if that changes because I'm not shitty enough to actually throw the ball at them.
Why is one bathroom for colors and the other for whites?
It just is.
Seems like an unnecessary complication.
She doesn't quite understand racism, which
Trying to get us both arrested?
is kind of on par with this game. Like, that one moment for Elizabeth is pretty much a good way to describe the entire game. It's also kind of disappointing because that was an opportunity to
Follow you in there.
portray Booker as, not a racist.
As a boy.
Striking.
Settle. Oh, that's a word for it.
Yeah, so there's another thing we're going to touch on, folks. The Pinkertons. If you don't know about the Pinkertons, they were garbage people. Ultra garbage people. When workers went on strike, they were called in to convince them to end their strike. And I'm not talking, dragging people into a room and showing them some shitty anti-union video. I mean, if you didn't stop striking, you might not be able to work anymore. And I don't mean getting fired.
She died.
How?
What I'm trying to gracefully point out is that the Pinkertons killed people. maimed people, assaulted people, committed brutal acts of violence in an effort to stop striking. And the Pinkertons still exist today. They are still active, and they very much don't like when people point out that their history is rife with violence and murder. And just in the off chance that this stream somehow, in some way, comes across the desk of somebody affiliated with the Pinkertons, fuck you, fuck everything you stand for, and fuck all of your ancestors.
Here is the man who takes a stand for God and sweetest fatherland. But here's the place where we revere the heroes of our city dear.
God, you know what this is making me think of? People who go like, what about what the Founding Fathers wanted? And like, who gives a shit what the Founding Fathers wanted? They were a bunch of stupid racist idiots who basically colonized this entire continent. Fuck them. Fuck the Founding Fathers. And their racist slave-owning asses. Fuck them all. George Washington could kiss my ass. Oh, he was the Founding Father. He was a racist slave-owning asshole. I don't give a shit about him. I especially don't give a shit about what he intended. Oh God, yeah, that's one of my favorite dodges. Well, it was a different time, you know. They're a product of their time. Fuck them. No, you can always stop being a piece of shit. I know, because I used to be one.
Our prophet.
Yeah, no, like, the racist grandpa trope, or the racist old person trope, I should say, is fucking stupid. Like, I'll be honest and open with y'all. I used to have extremely shitty views. Alright? I did. I was brought up Republican, so obviously I had some incredibly shitty views. And I grew the fuck up. I became an adult, and I realized that those views were not acceptable. They weren't correct. They were not conducive to being a civilized human being. And so I changed. I changed my views. I changed my outlook on things. And now I'm, you know, who I am today because of it. You're never too old to stop being a shithead. You can always turn yourself around and be a better person. Always. And anybody who says otherwise is... They're just stupid. And wrong. And hopefully someday they realize how stupid and wrong they are. And change. But yeah, no, Tyrion, absolutely correct. If it was a different time, then why should we care what they say? Because times have changed. And that's what people don't understand. When people talk about the Constitution was meant to be a document that we update as society and, you know, stuff progresses. Which is why we have, you know, the amendments for, you know, letting women vote, and amendments that recognize that black people aren't, you know, property. Because, you know, slavery was fucking legal. If we want to talk about legalities. And, like, so, yeah, let's talk about that viewpoint. I've never heard of that before, but, like, I guess I've technically heard about it, but never heard about it in just, like, a definitive sense. And I think there's... So, we can't forget the past. I think the past helps us understand the future. But the past doesn't replace the future. The past is supposed to be something that helps us learn so that the future is better. So, like, we should be looking at the Founding Fathers and going, okay, how can we learn from them and make things better? And it shouldn't be, well, we should look to what they said and then just go by that, because that's not progress. That's just stupid. And the belief that we can learn from the past is obviously important, and it's true. We can absolutely learn from the past. But living in the past living in the past and adhering only to what happened in the past is just that you're just never gonna fucking go anywhere. You're just gonna stay in the same place, which some people wanted. The idea that looking to older cultures get a better understanding of morality is interesting. A lot of people who push this idea are very selective in which cultures qualify. Ones that have more... Right, exactly. So a good comparison is when I was 16, I kind of fell out of religion. At least the religion I was brought up on, which was Lutheran. I was brought up Lutheran Christian. At the age of 16, I sort of had my rebellious phase, and I stopped being a part of that. And so from there, I started looking into other religions, you know, and not just, you know, white religions. I looked at all different kinds of religion. And it was interesting because having done that gave me so many different, like, interesting views on a variety of topics: life, death, morality, ethics. There's a lot to be gleaned from different, you know, cultures and different belief systems. And I feel like, but yeah, no, I learned a lot from all different kinds of ideologies and beliefs, and the same thing can happen with culture outside of religion. We can learn a lot from, you know, we can learn so much from essays, from poems, from stories, books, movies. Yeah, as far as religion goes, I think I mentioned it on stream before, but I do not have an affiliated religion. I'm not part of any organized religious group or anything like that. A lot of my beliefs take from a bunch of different belief systems: Christianity, Buddhism, a little bit of Hindu, because there's a lot of different ideas from each of them that, you know, I sort of liked and I agreed with and I thought, you know, made sense. So I just sort of cobbled together my own little system of ideas based off of, you know, the ideas of other people. I feel quite happy with my belief system, and it's primarily, you know, it's just the search of knowledge, the search of being a better person, and, you know, shit like that. Yeah, no, Elizabeth is very much infantilized, and I don't know if that's a good or bad thing. It makes sense given her upbringing, but from a more macro view of it, it's kind of not good. So yeah, Booker is played up very much like a throughout the game. Booker's basically shown to be a centrist. His character doesn't give a shit about the plight of the working people, black people. None of this really matters to him. All that he cares about is the job. That's it. And in any other kind of, like, story, maybe that could pass. But that is Daisy Fitzroy, the leader of the Vox Populi. Her character is meant to symbolize, you know, obviously black people, working people, people who basically the rich take advantage of and steal from. So if the game wasn't being subtle enough for you, or if the game is being too subtle for you, rather, Comstock represents white supremacy, racism, all that good bullshit. And like I said, Daisy's the polar opposite. She's supposed to represent, you know, those who have been taken advantage of by the white people. That, I hate when people really, like, try to twist words, like, un-America. That is so unbelievably stupid sounding. And I can't believe somebody, like, obviously in the context of the game, it's supposed to be a little bit, like, overkill. But, like, there are people who actually think that that was clever. Not in terms of the game, but, like, there are actual people in our reality who would hear that and go, hell yeah, that sounds like something you'd hear on fucking Fox News, on Tucker Carlson or some shit. It's not even a pun. It's just you just put the word "un" in front of the word America to indicate that it's not what it should be. It sucks. What's sweet? Right? I mean, honestly, like, the more realistic games get, the less I want to play them. I'm not gonna lie. There was a period of time where I was interested in realistic-looking games. If anything, for the novelty of it. Like, oh, look how realistic and all these facial animations are, and the movements are fluid, and it's almost like the real people, and to a degree, that's kind of cool. But a lot of times, I feel like realism gets in the way of the game being fun. And I think a friend of mine he's in game dev. I think I remember him saying something about that. Like, you know, sure, it could be realistic, but is it fun?
Keep your eyes to yourself, Guaylo.
And a lot of times, in my opinion, all right, let's bump our health up. In my opinion, a lot of times realism just gets in the way of a game being fun because there's just this emphasis, well, you can't fire this gun until you've finished reloading it, and it reloads with like a bolt action, so it takes 6 hours to be ready to fire again, and you know, well, we need to, like, if you're gonna pick something up, we need like a 10-second animation of you picking it up and shoving it into your body. You know, shit like that. It's just kind of like, it's just frustrating. I don't want it to be realistic if it's gonna get in the way of me having fun.
On some money. I'm sorry about what I said at the docks. Calling her thug.
Yeah. Can't see how it might have changed her sense of that.
You protected me.
Job's a job.
Booker, like, okay, I know he's supposed to kind of be like the grizzled noir-esque, but like when somebody's giving you a compliment, just fucking take it. I can't stand that whole like dumb machismo, you know. I can't stand it. Oh, a job's a job. Shut the fuck up and just be like if you don't say shit like that, you have a better chance of getting her to come along with you willingly because she thinks you're a good person. You just be an asshole, she's gonna be like, well, no, fuck this, I'm out of here. Like, that's just common sense. Now, let's see what this tear has to do. No, 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 hey, nah, shut up, shut up. Thank you.
That song before.
I don't suspect anyone's heard that song.
Really? You're gonna shit talk Creighton's Clearwater Revival? Are you fucking kidding me? I can't believe this game had the absolute gall to insult Credence Clearwater Revival. Yo, okay, no, y'all are talking about the DMCA and missing the fact that this game shit-talked Credence Clearwater Revival. I feel like that's way more important to note. They literally said of Fortunate Son, I bet nobody's heard the song. They shit-talked Credence Clearwater Revival. Are you shitting me? You do not have the chops to punch like that. That is not even a punch up. That is just whiffing the air desperately. Go fuck yourself.
This whole business makes my head hurt.
Yeah, no, none of this plot makes any sense. That's the big thing with this. This plot becomes completely nonsensical, and that is why I don't like parallel world time travel stories. Because the plot is almost always wrong. They always try to justify, you know, whatever changes and things like that, but they get it wrong every time. Futurama did it. Futurama did an episode called The Late Mr. Fry. And in it, Fry, Bender, and the professor get inside a time machine. that the processor made. But the time machine only goes forward in time. It does not go backward in time, which is stupid, but okay. So while testing it, I don't remember if it was Bender or Fry, but somebody accidentally bumps the professor, and he basically sends them thousands of years into the future. So they basically spend a lot of the episode trying to find a future where there's a backwards time machine, right? So the big part of it is at some point they hit the end of the world. They hit the heat death of the universe.
Hold on to this. There you go.
So as they're contemplating, their mortality and brittle skin, melee targets briefly vulnerable, victim takes 2 times damage. Interesting. That might be helpful against the handyman and the
Need some help with this.
Washingtons. So they basically hit the end of the universe. So how does this plot get resolved? Because you have more show to do. You need to get these characters back together. So what happens is they discover that time is cyclical. And as you go further and further into the future, you will eventually come back to the Big Bang to the dinosaurs to mankind to Futurama. Well, this turn through, they overshoot, so they have to do it all over again. So again, they go back through, they visit the end of the universe, and so on the final loop, they end up in a universe that's like an inch lower than their universe was. They kill off their 3 characters accidentally and live out the rest of their lives in this new loop. The problem is now we no longer have the characters from the show. We have new characters. That universe's Leela isn't the same Leela that was in the original timeline in Futurama. So I can't enjoy the rest of the show because you've replaced the characters with new characters. There's a little bit of irony today behind today's stream, because just minutes ago, I was explaining to some fragile white dude on Facebook how in the mid-1900s, the KKK went from a splinter of the Democrat Party to the Republican Party, which is history literally everybody knows. Like, it's just fact. So now they're upset, so they went from responding to me on the thread to PMing me, yelling about the time David Duke ran as a Democrat, which is true. David Duke actually did originally try to run as a Democrat. He failed because he's David Duke, and from there on, he became a Republican. So, while we talk about racism and we talk about things like that, we should also talk about education. Education is an important part of politics. You need to be educated on the history of things, especially stuff like the KKK. Bonk. So as we all know, the KKK was originally founded, I believe, in the 1800s. Hey, Funky, how you doing? Appreciate you being here. Having a great day. By a splinter of the Democratic Party. It wasn't the majority of the Democratic Party. It was a small part of the Democratic Party that believed in slave ownership. So while they were still Democrats, obviously, and that is something that Democrats really need to kind of own up to. Yes, the KKK were Democrats originally. Note that I say originally. So, a century or so later, they get revived, because at a certain point, they basically just kind of became unnecessary. Like, they were always unnecessary, but from a useful standpoint, they became unnecessary. Until 1915, when they were resurrected again, and then I believe it was actually 1964, there was an official rotation of the parties, because at that time, the Democrat Party was starting to push more polling rights and voting rights and various equal rights bills that didn't sit well with, I think they're called the Dixiecrats. So in 1964, they formally disbanded that part of the Democratic Party, and they went to the Republican Party. Now, the Republican Party didn't like having this element, so they went to the Democratic Party. And that is how we have the Democratic and Republican parties today. Now, for David Duke, he thought he could, weasel his way into the Democratic thing. He claimed he was, for those values and all that, and people didn't like him, so he failed. So he then started running as a Republican under the banner of a born-again Christian, claiming that he was against racism and things like that. None of that was true. He then became the leader of the KKK. Guess who the KKK supports and votes for? Republicans! They actually heavily influenced, I think it was the 2016 election with Donald Trump in the South. Their influence and their interference gave him a huge boost in votes. Because they're Republicans. Whether they were originally named Democrats or called Republicans now, the KKK are a bunch of scumbag losers who basically all deserve to die terrible, horrible deaths and be forgotten for the rest of time. So it doesn't matter what name they're running under. It doesn't matter what banner they're flying. It doesn't matter what you want to call their party. The KKK are fucking idiots. They suck. And they don't deserve anything. And if you're gonna really try to sit there and argue with me semantics, like, oh, well, who were they before 1864? Doesn't fucking matter, because it ain't 1864, it sure as hell ain't 1863. It's 2022. Get your head out of your ass and into the present. Please, thank you, and fuck off. So yeah, if you want to know my opinions on Republicans, it's simply this. They suck, they're garbage, and we'd be better off without them. And honestly, parts of the Democratic Party today still, too, absolutely would be happier without a good number of them. I don't want Joe Biden. I don't want Kamala Harris. They both suck. Kamala Harris, for example, is an especially egregious example. And it's basically, she and Biden are examples of certain characters in this game. In fact, I would go so far as to say that Booker, in the way that he behaves in this game, the way he reacts to the situations around him, Booker is essentially a embodiment of pure neoliberalism, centrism, or whatever you want to fucking call it. Booker doesn't want to get in the middle of this. He thinks that, none of this affects him, therefore he shouldn't be involved. And that's the most base neoliberal thought process, is, well, if it doesn't affect me, I don't want to make waves. Kamala Harris, though, specifically, I do feel bad because I am singling out a black person for criticism here, but Harris did so much fucking damage as a prosecutor, and I believe she was an AG as well. The sheer damage that she did to the black community in her time as a prosecutor and AG cannot be understated. She is no better than any Republican, in my opinion, because her leading the wave of mass incarceration of black people severely damaged the black community. And, I'm not black. I'm white as shit. But, I've heard what people had to say about Kamala Harris from the black community, because I listen to this kind of stuff. I want to know what people other than me think. I want to hear how they're doing, and maybe I can pick up on things that I can do better to kind of better the situation. And I have not met one person that thinks Kamala Harris was a good choice or a good person. But yeah, no, like, I fucking hate Kamala Harris. She is a cop. She always was a cop. She'll always be a cop. And it sucks that she's the very first black VP because she has tainted that victory so deeply, and it sucks. And I feel so bad. Obama was supposed to be like the big deal. Like, it's the first black president. This is a huge fucking deal. And he wasted that platform. Wasted it. It's so upsetting. Oh god, absolutely, man. Absolutely. Like, we can sit and recognize that, yes, Obama broke a ceiling. He really did. You know, for all the bad he did, he really did break a ceiling. The problem is that breaking was tainted, just like with Harris. Okay, so he's done with his thing. So, not just the drone strikes. The drone strikes are obviously one thing. For me personally, because this does actually affect me, the ACA, the Affordable Care Act, is such a huge mass of garbage and bullshit. And this was supposed to be Obama's crowning achievement, the Affordable Care Act. And all it did was penalize people for not having health insurance. I want to talk about the Affordable Care Act because, again, drone strikes are terrible. They're awful. But this is something that really gets on my goddamn shit. When the Democrats first presented the Affordable Care Act, it was a fully comprehensive, wide-reaching, and pretty decent medical package. The Republican, and they had a super majority. They had a super fucking majority at the time. Dems were in charge. They could have passed anything they wanted. So what happened is when the Dems tried to push it through, a bunch of moderate Dems, and obviously all the Republicans, were like, nah, this isn't what we want. So the original version got scrapped. So they bring it up again with changes to try to appease the moderates. Y'all remember the recent shit with Joe Manchin being an absolute sack of shit. Well, this is part of it. So, like, the moderate Dems said no, so the Democrats were like, all right, well, we'll redo this, and we'll include all the stuff that you want and take out all the stuff you don't want. So they bring it back to him again. They're like, nah, we don't want this. So they scrapped it again. So finally, they took a look at a plan that Mitt Romney had come up with and based their next version of the ACA on that. And that's what got passed, and that's what we ended up with. Because moderate Democrats are basically just Republicans. They're kind of like Team Fortress 2, the spy character. That's what a moderate Democrat is. It's just the spy character from the red team going into the blue team. Moderate Democrats are absolute garbage. They're useless, and we need to kick them out of the party forever. And they should never, ever, ever be allowed to hold office ever again because of the way they've utterly destroyed any attempts to better this country. So if you ever hear me just bitch and moan about neoliberals or moderate Democrats or the centrists or whatever the fuck you want to call them, that's why. Because every time we've tried to make things better, they've turned around and went, nah, that doesn't appease my corporate owners or whatever stupid industry has paid them off because they're scum. But this game is just bringing it out in me because I hate this game's politics. I hate racism. I hate bigotry. I hate all of it. I think it's just the biggest fucking waste of a person's brain to be a bigot, to hate a whole group of people for the color of their skin or their height or their weight or their interests. Just, it is the stupidest fucking thing I can think of. It's such a waste of your mind, your soul, your heart. Honestly, I think if you're a racist and you continue to be a racist, you're just a waste of a person. You are less of a person than you could be. And I don't say that lightly, because I don't like to think of myself as better than people, because I think that's that's a very toxic way of looking at things. But, you know, I will 100% say that I'm a better person than a Nazi. I am more of a person than a Nazi. Period. You will not convince me otherwise. And the same thing with racists, the same thing with bigots. And I don't mean lesser people in they're not human, it's just they're not as good of a person they could possibly be. I love Elizabeth's idea that we should go to the police as if that's not who we've been shooting the whole fucking time. My opinions on awful people are not kind, and as I've mentioned before, they do kind of favor along the lines of being violent. And, I mean, that's just because if you really want to truly stamp out fascism, you need violence. Because you're not going to stop it with poetry and soft words. As much as I hate to say it, because, I mean, nobody really, I mean, so there are people who do love violence and they're sick.
What they shouted when I ran out.
But yeah, I don't enjoy violence. I really don't. Like, I'll engage in the media. I'll engage in, you know, violent music, violent movies, violent games, and all that stuff. That's fine and dandy. I'm not looking for violence. I'm not hoping for violence. I'm not, you know, praying for violence or wishing for violence or anything like that.
Then we get our airship.
But the fact remains is that violence is the only way to stop fascism. We had a war about this, so this is not a controversial stance. It's just fucking fact. Yes, the Nazi bar analogy is quite possibly one of the greatest things next to Karl Popper's paradox of tolerance.
Sure.
The Nazi bar story is fucking amazing, and I feel like more leftists need to read that story. For those who don't know the story, I'm gonna paraphrase it because I don't remember it word for word, but a dude was at a bar drinking, and, you know, he was just drinking, just being a drunk. And a guy sits down next to him, the bartender looks at him, tells him to get the fuck out. The guy starts to protest, but then the bartender reaches down for a weapon, and the guy leaves. So the other guy who is drinking kind of gives the bartender a look, and the bartender turns to him and says, "You gotta stop it right away, because it always starts out with one of them being nice, and they start to hang out. Well, then they start to bring some of their friends, and their friends are nice, and so it goes on, and start hanging out, and more start hanging out, and then suddenly, now you've got Nazis in your bar, and now you can't get rid of them because they're in there. They're all in there. And because you didn't get rid of them, you literally just have a Nazi bar. And then they stop being nice. And then they start fucking up the place. And you can't do anything about it because now you're a Nazi bar." And I 1,000% agree with that. There's a saying, if you have 11 people sitting at a table and a Nazi sits down with them and nobody does anything, you have 12 Nazis sitting at a table.
How long are we gonna be able to carry all this back to the shop? God, we didn't think this all the way through.
And them's just facts. That falls in line with the saying, the only thing necessary for evil to triumph is for good men to do nothing. And that applies to this wholeheartedly. If you do not actively try to stop fascism, you are an accomplice to fascism. And if you don't like that, tough shit, because that's how it works. That's the world. That's real life. If you want to be, you can't be apolitical. You just can't. That's a stupid way to live, first and foremost. Somebody want to tell me where this key is for this chest? You cannot be apolitical, because being apolitical is just siding with the fascists. After the Nazis made the lead, the bartender mentions I forgot to mention that the guy had Nazi paraphernalia. That's incredibly important to the story. Quick, somebody look up where the key is for this. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so, yeah, I fucked up the story a bit. But basically, it was the bartender saw the guy was wearing Nazi stuff, and he kicked him out because he saw that he was a Nazi. And then he tells the guy about, you know, the Nazi problem. And how you stop it. So there you go. That... I did better justice to the table issue. But yeah. If I haven't made my politics very clear, I hope I've made them clear in the last few Bioshock sessions. I am adamantly left. I am left enough that I make Bernie Sanders look like a moderate. I have no respect for people who sit in the middle of politics. I have no interest in what they have to say because they're not there to help. And at the same time, as much as I say, you know, violence is violence, that, there is something to be said about rehabilitation. You can rehabilitate some people. And if you can rehabilitate that person, rehabilitate them. Do that first. I prefer peace to violence. And if there's a way to peacefully pull somebody out of that brink, take that poison out of their mind, I want to see that happen. I want to hear that. I want to hear that, yeah, you were a piece of shit once, and then you were pulled away from that, and you turned into a better person, and now you're dedicated to making the world a better place. Impound building, second floor. Room just past the tear. Metal kit tear. There's a vial in the locked chest by the fox. The key to the locked chest. But I don't know if we're close enough to the scene. But I will say, much like Afterfall, this game has a huge fuck you moment. It's a moment where the game just gives a giant middle finger to the player. And when we get to it, I'll let you know. Because I remember that moment when I first played it, and it fucking pissed me off. It infuriated me.
Okay, catch.
Because of all the build-up, and then it goes and it does the thing. And it's quite possibly... Like, Afterfall's fuck you moment is the ending, and it's a fuck you moment because it literally just says that everything you did was a lie, and that kind of sucks. This, on the other hand, pulls some shit. And it's really hard for me to kind of like... I can't even really hint at it without giving away exactly what's wrong with this game. But I promise you, we will get there. So, this doesn't make any sense, because the weapons we needed... Hold on. So the weapons we needed were in the impound, right? But it was in the impound in another version of this universe. So this game's got this weird thing about multiverses. It's trying to say that basically the other world is not necessarily the other world, because we killed people in that world. They reappear in this world, but they're still dead. Like that is such a dumb take on multiverse theory, right? Because in a multiverse theory, what you do in one universe doesn't affect the other universe. That's just not how they work. They don't interact, but they do exist side by side. Is what I'm used to with multiverse theory. This game completely fucks that up and says, well, no, there's another universe, but it's directly tied to our universe. So things you do in that universe can affect the things you do in this universe, but they also don't make sense. It doesn't make sense because the guns are still in the fucking impound. And in both of these universes, the impound is still under Comstock's, or no, Fink. This is Fink, I think, right? Yeah, this is still under Fink's control. So even if we were to drag all of those weapons from that version of this universe into this version of the universe, it'd still be in the impound. So how the fuck would the Vox Populi get it? It's not like we used the tear to move them to a different location. They're still here. Or at least the game is trying to argue that, well, when you brought them back, they somehow magically teleported to the Vox Populi. So, like, this game can't even get its own bullshit correct.
You Booker DeWitt, the hero of the Vox.
What the hell are they talking about?
Look at that poster. In this world, you're a hero.
The Vox. Slate and I burned down the Hall of Heroes.
Okay.
Hard to think. Just two memories in the same
Come
place.
back to me. We're going to find Daisy Fitzroy.
Wait, we're back in the original world.
Let's go.
So none of that happened in this world. See, like, this is what I'm talking about with doing multi-dimensional or time-based stories. Is that it's bullshit and it doesn't make any goddamn sense.
When it comes down to it, the only difference between Comstock and Fitzroy is how you spell their name.
Okay! That is not the scene. But let's pause and rant a little more. Because this is my core fucking problem with this stupid game. Alright? We are introduced to a character, Comstock, who is very clearly a white supremacist. He is pure evil, cartoonishly evil. He is racist. He's probably anti-Semitic, I don't know. He's violent. He's hateful. He's bigoted. He runs a bigoted, hateful land. Alright? He is the enemy. And here Booker is saying that Comstock and Daisy Fitzroy, now remember, we met Daisy Fitzroy. She's the leader of the Vox Populi. They are a resistance group trying to stop Comstock and his reign. Booker's arguing that they are exactly the same. And this is something that neoliberals try to fucking do. And I'm pissed off every time it happens. It's that argument, when they go low, you go high. That's not how it works. That is a childish view of how these things work. I came up with sort of a thing that I call the killer theory, and it uses an obviously fictitious example. Michael Myers. In the Halloween films, Michael Myers is basically a serial killer. You can go with the supernatural element if you want. If you want to take it away, I don't care. I don't care how you want to view Michael Myers as a character. He's a serial killer. Now, multiple times throughout the franchise, he's approached somebody he's going to kill, and that person has begged him to not kill them. And what does he do? He kills them. Because that person didn't defend themselves, they couldn't defend themselves. He kills them. The killer problem is, I forgot what I've already called it. Basically, the entire point is that if somebody wants to kill you, they're going to kill you. If they are already set that they are going to kill you, they're going to do it no matter what you say to them. No matter what you offer them, they're going to kill you. And in that case, you are totally in the right to defend yourself. Now, in this case, Fitzroy and the Vox Populi are responding to the racism and violence under Comstock. This game right now, this character, Booker, our main character, is arguing that there is no difference between somebody trying to kill somebody and somebody trying to stop that person from killing them. That is a central theme to neoliberal philosophy, and I fucking hate it, and I fucking hate this. Back to the game.
Kill the imposters. Burn their bodies when you're done.
Watch out!
That's it. That is the moment. That is the moment when I first played this. This moment right here is where I drew my line. I still beat this game. I still played this through. But this is horseshit. So, what we mentioned before, after Booker said that absolute bullshit line, this is the game basically bringing it to a front. This game argues, and is arguing, and continues to try to argue, that a person who murders people and a person who defends themselves from that murderer aren't different from one another. They are the same. They are equal. They are equally wrong. If you kill somebody in self-defense, you are no better than a person who just kills. That is what this game is arguing. That is what this game is saying. And not only that, it is incredibly racist, especially given that Daisy's supposed to be the face of the working people. She's a black woman fighting against the tyranny of a white man. And this game reduces that character to somebody who, essentially at this point, she's just feral. She's not even, like, thinking logically. She's just on a murder rampage. And this game is and that's what this game argues, is that, and maybe this is a little out of line, but it feels like this game is basically saying that if black people want to succeed, or if they want to move forward and get through, they cannot be violent, they cannot engage in violence, or they are no better than the people who are killing them and oppressing them. And it fucking irritates me to my core. This game has such a deeply racist mentality. And the fact that they took Daisy, who basically her whole plot is that she was a maid, and then she just discovered, the secrets of the Comstocks, left them and started a revolution to try to take them down, to stop the tyranny of a white person. And this game has now reduced that character to a villain just because she committed acts of violence in order to defend herself, defend her people. That is what this game has done. This moment was the turning point for this game, for me. Before I ever really became fully leftist, I just was agog at the idea that this character who's been fighting for her people is just... It's just a racist caricature, and it falls into one of my, I mean, they're all bad, but this is one that definitely gets me, is the aggressive black person. The black person who speaks a little too out of tone for the white person. The black person who doesn't sit down at the table of ideas and talk them out. The black person who's not, making white people comfortable. And Daisy is basically that. She is the caricature of that racist mentality about black people, that black people need to speak in a specific tone in order to be acceptable. And I fucking hate that. I fucking hate this game. Rant over. Let's play some more. Yeah, this game's combat sucks. So anyway, let's talk about what's our issue with this game? This game is racist, it's stupid, and it doesn't make much sense, right? So that's the argument we're going on. So Daisy's a terrible character. So what do we do about that? How do we deal with the fact that it's a half-assed and kind of lazy position? How it really should have been written is that, Daisy's leading the revolution. She's wary of this new Booker who appeared when extremely low and healthy. Okay, whatever. So we go through the story and we return to Daisy and she sees that, we're alive. But in this universe, we died. So obviously there's going to be some doubt. There's going to be some concern. And what should be the next part of the game is convincing Daisy that you're good, that you are, in fact, Booker, but from a different universe. Because that's, good writing. This game does not have good writing, so we ended up with this horse shit. Yep, so she's just... We took this powerful black character, and now she's just a a feral, violent monster. What a bunch of bullshit.
Movement, Daisy.
This is what needs to be done. You see, the founders ain't nothing but weeds. Cut them down and they just grow back. If you want to get rid of the weed, you gotta pull it up from the root. It's the only way to do it.
Elizabeth.
I guess it runs in the family.
So I'm gonna pause here again too, because this brings up. So when I make arguments, I actually argue with myself a lot before I say anything. Because if there's anybody that's good at destroying my own arguments, it's me. I am very good at talking myself out of a thought. So the first thing that came to my mind for that specific sequence of her menacing the child was the Hitler theorem. If you could go back in time and kill baby Hitler, would you? And I feel like somebody would probably try to bring that up in my criticisms of this moment right here. What Daisy's doing is technically, or would be arguably, no different than going back in time and shooting baby Hitler. However, I think that was Fink's child. We don't know the future of Fink's child. That kid could actually probably grow up to be part of the Vox Populi. He could probably become a valuable asset. We'll never know, because she tried to kill him. That's where it's different. In the Hitler paradox, is it a paradox or a what would you call that? What would be a good name for that? But the theory that if you could go back in time and kill baby Hitler only works because we know what Hitler does. We know his threat. So going back in time and killing him as a baby eliminates that threat. In here, Daisy's only assuming that the child may be a threat down the line. And that's not always true. I'm a great example. I was brought up Republican. I was brought up on some beliefs that were not quite so great. And not necessarily from my parents, but from the general environment of Republicanism. You know, there's a lot of racism, there's a lot of toxicity in being a Republican. And here I am, 36, I'm a hardcore leftist. So it's not a guarantee in this case that child would grow up to be an oppressor. And that's where this narrative fucking falls apart, is it constantly tries to set up these situations to argue that both sides are bad. Remember when Trump said that there are good people on both sides, in the Nazis and the anti-fascists? This is kind of doing the inverse of that. It's arguing that both sides are bad. The Nazis are bad, and the people standing against the Nazis are bad. That's what this game is trying to get away with, and it shouldn't. And it fucking sucks that this came out, and fuck Ken Levine. Okay, back to the game.
Elizabeth. Whoa, hey, easy.
And that weird moment right there is kind of like, it almost feels like this game is also trying to make the comment that engaging in an act of violence is going to make you even more violent. You're more likely to continue being violent, even against people who you shouldn't be violent against. And that's so fucking stupid. This game is so dumb, and its morality and its ethics and its morals, it sucks. I hate this game. So here's the thing. You're probably asking yourself, you know, Axe, we've hit the most racist part of the game, and the game's still going. What else is there? Well, boy, howdy. Do I have some treats for you. This game is not over, not by a long shot. In fact, it's about to get 1,000 times stupider.
Here's some cash.
Yep, and here we have the Vox Populi basically being complete pieces of shit. Because again, the argument is that, you know, both sides are equally bad. I don't know, I kind of feel like that adds a bit, another layer of racism to this game. Like, oh yeah, we're gonna make the main character some, centrist douchebag white dude, and then we're gonna name him after a prominent black person. There's just something scummy about that. Oh yeah, Malcolm X, the scary, angry black man. Actually, you know what? I think that's what this game's going for. I think this game is trying to argue that Daisy was basically Malcolm X. Because remember that Martin Luther King Jr. was the good black. The okay black. The black that we can, you know, be friends with. And he'll give us soothing little, things that, you know, whatever. And then Malcolm X was the scary, angry black man who was killing everybody. Rah. Yeah, I'm starting to lean a lot more towards Malcolm X, to be quite honest. I love Martin Luther King Jr., and his message is a good message. It's the message that we should all strive for. And even Martin Luther King Jr. admitted that, sadly, sometimes violence is kind of needed. Oh yeah, no, there's lots of different ways to approach things. I mean, when given the opportunity, there are options. Sometimes you're just not given an option, and people can't cope with that. People can't cope with the idea that discussion is not the end-all be-all, that it's not the panacea for all of our problems. That no matter what happens, you can sit somebody down at a table and agree to disagree with them. And no, you can't when it comes to people's lives, when it comes to people's freedom, when it comes to their personhood. You can't agree to disagree. You just can't.
The district's out. Execute anybody who looks like they give us trouble. Anyone with a gun, anyone wearing glasses. Round up the rest.
Anybody wearing glasses? What? So what I love about this game, and we mentioned this before, in Bioshock 1, the main thing behind it is telling about how basically Rapture comes apart. And Rapture comes apart, as I mentioned, because objectivism and Randian philosophy are incompatible with a functioning society. They're just not. So that's how Rapture basically meets its end as a city and a project, is just the failure of its citizens and the failure of the ideology. In this game, the downfall of Columbia is caused by the people trying to basically save themselves from fascism. Because before the Vox Populi, started attacking, everything was pretty fine. It was good to go. And this game is basically saying, oh yeah, all those people who were defending themselves, well, they became their worst enemy. And it's such a shitty, stupid plot point.
They're a ghost?
She's not. He used me to power that device. He opened up some kind of tear.
Seeing your mother is raising the dead.
Yeah, so this, when I said this game was gonna get stupider, this is what I was talking about. We are now fighting a ghost. Yeah, so, this just dipped down into even stupider territory. Well, I appreciate that you, put that on hold to come watch this absolute nonsense. A lot of people are here, because, there's some stuff we still need to talk about. Now, obviously, this game's kind of, gone away from its original, tone, and it's decided that it's gonna it's gonna try to combine the supernatural and science, but in very stupid ways. But there's a couple things I wanted to talk about in regards to this game. The first one is Booker. One of the reasons why I didn't like Adam Jensen in the new Deus Ex games is that he was basically a hypocrite, a massive, obnoxious hypocrite. And in this game, Booker DeWitt is no less a hypocrite. And I'll explain why. So, one of the two key moments of this game were the elevator ride where Booker argues that Comstock and Fitzroy are basically the same because basically they're both violent people, and even though their versions of violence are different and have different contexts, Booker equates them as the same people, and derisively so, arguing through implication that being violent, you know, kind of makes you a bad person. At the same time, he has done nothing since he got here but be violent. Now we obviously got to point out that at no point does Booker ever say he's a good person. He repeatedly points out he's a bad person. But this also brings me back to doing the ironic thing is still doing the ironic thing. You know, okay, you're a bad person. The more just because you keep killing people doesn't, you know.
There is a way to bring her to reason.
3 truths you must discover first.
Truths which, in this world, Comstock has destroyed.
If only one of you had the power to alter time and space.
That would be a blessing, wouldn't it?
I can't stand the Lutesses.
They're sarcastic.
They are terrible characters, and they're not interesting. But anyway.
Something off about Lady Comstock.
Yeah, I noticed.
No, you don't understand. She doesn't belong here. I brought something through. I'm not so sure it was her.
Yeah, but obviously Booker knows that he's a bad person because he was also a Pinkerton and stuff like that, but it feels like it's a weird way of him justifying it. It's like, yeah, I'm a violent person. That's because I'm a bad person, and he tries to project that onto Fitzroy, who was supposed to be just defending herself and her city and her people. And they're not the same. Booker only solves problems through violence. And the game sort of feels like it's saying that it's okay because Booker's violence is the right violence, whereas Daisy's violence was the wrong violence. And there's a level of white privilege and, you know, a little bit of white supremacy in that theory, because it's basically saying that black people must be peaceful at all times for their advocacy or their resistance to either be civilized or justified. Whereas Booker, the white character, is free to violence his way through every situation, and we can just wave it off as, oh, well, he knows he's a bad person. But that's so incredibly one-dimensional and hacky. And it also just kind of spits in the face of everything that happened with Daisy. I think it sucks, quite frankly. And one of the other things I wanted to talk about is I wanted to revisit a rant from very early in the game. And I want to revisit it because I feel like I didn't get it across the way that I wanted to. And that whole thing was about racism and religion. So, like, I want to be clear that there is a correlation between racism and religion, and that's primarily due to the fact that religion has been used as a tool to oppress people of color and other, marginalized groups throughout history. That's unquestionable. However, what this game feels like it's trying to do at times is almost argue that racism and religion are inherent. They're connected, they're intertwined, they are, not mutually exclusive. And there's a lot more nuance to that. You can be religious without being bigoted. It's possible. In fact, the whole point of a lot of religions is to not be a shithead, not to be bigoted, not to have those beliefs. The story of Jesus Christ was literally about forgiving the sins of humanity so that humanity wouldn't continue to follow in the footsteps of their less civilized ancestors. That's kind of the whole fucking point, right?
Fancy putting those lock-picking skills to work?
So the way this game definitely tries to shove the two together as almost, inextricable just feels a kind of bad way. Like, I'm very critical of religion, and we rightfully should be critical of religion, but there's a fine line between being critical of religion and, incorrectly attributing something to drop call off landing off a skyline, increases movement speed. Okay. So obviously, we have to come to terms with the negatives, especially in the face of religion and the treatment of people of color. But the game almost feels like it's trying to say if you're religious, you're probably also bigoted too. And I haven't looked at the statistics lately for that, but that's what I don't agree with. It's the arguing that you're inherently probably bigoted because you're religious. I don't think that tracks. So that was the argument I was trying to make originally, but I just did a real shit job of it, and I wanted to recover that because I didn't want that to sit there and be wrong. Because the way I tried to argue it when I first argued it was very badly. And I was, because I'm playing back the streams and trying to pull together some of my favorite rants from it. And when I re-listened to that rant, I was like, wow, no, I don't agree with the way this is worded at all. I know what I was trying to say, but I was doing an absolute shit job of saying it. So this is more of the pseudoscience bullshit, and so, like, science and the supernatural can exist together, and they can be done together. But this game doesn't really do it in a good way. Like, Ghostbusters does it in a really good way. This game's just like everything else in the game. It's done very hacky, very stupid. So, coming back to another thing we've talked about before is this game's concept of multiversing. And in this game, all the universes, based from what I'm kind of seeing and putting together, all the universes exist together at once. And when you switch in between each universe, you can affect each version of that universe in a different way, which is incredibly stupid, and I hate it. I don't like it at all. Because that kind of thing makes way less sense. And it only gets stupider from here. The fact that we're fighting a ghost is incredibly stupid. given what this game's supposed to be going for. Yeah, I think I'm ranted out. I don't know if I have. Maybe we'll come across some more things to yell about. And not to say that you can't do a game with the supernatural and science. One game that we streamed a long time ago that I really enjoy was a game called I think it was Ghost Hunter, starring Rob Paulson. And in it, you basically have this technology to capture ghosts, and you go to different locations and capture ghosts with it. And it's a really good game, but like, it made the tech interesting, and it didn't try so hard to explain it. It was just like, here's the tech, and it works, and you're like, okay, cool, awesome. And in here, it's desperately trying to explain all of its pseudoscience bullshit, and the more it does that, the less interesting it actually becomes. Like when people try desperately to explain how magic works. What if magic is just magic, and there really is no explanation for it? Just magic. It is just a thing. Not everything needs an explanation, and sometimes the more you explain, the worse it sounds. It doesn't help that this game just has atrocious writing. I think that's just kind of the big problem with it, is that the writing's not great. Every universe, every story is basically its own universe, right? And what's important about those universes is those universes need to operate within a certain set of laws and rules. And when you establish a certain set of laws and rules, that's how you basically get the person engaging with your media to basically suspend their disbelief, right? So in this game, it's basically supposed to have been kind of established, all right, so it's about religion, it's about science, it's about, bigotry and racism and things like that. And then the game just goes, all right, now we're going to do ghosts. And you can see how that kind of just doesn't fit with what this game was setting up, like the themes and things like that. It's just sort of, it's a jarring element that doesn't belong. Midichlorians. I'm not one to get like super wrapped up in fandom, but the midichlorians in episode 1 was kind of insulting, not gonna lie. Because the first trilogy, the episodes 4 through 6, established the Force as something more mystical, something a lot more along the lines of almost a supernatural kind of thing. And then episode 1 tries to science up that whole thing, and that just kind of flies in the face of what was already established. And it was also incredibly fucking stupid too. Oh, fuck. It's time for this. Oh, this is gonna suck. So, if you thought that this game wasn't good enough and needed Alright, so, that introduces us to, what is it called? Is there a bestiary? There's no bestiary. They're called, Brothers of Silence? Oh, you haven't seen anything yet. And once again, we're kind of low on ammo. We're gonna need to stock up, because this section that's coming up is incredibly not great. Okay, so this is officially the section. Alright, so it looks like it looks all the way around. Nope, I got too close. God damn it. Okay, here's another one. When out of salts, you can use health cast vigors. That sounds terrible. Alright, so I made it through there, and I didn't have to fight anybody. Yeah, so, if you've been piecing together the story, good for you, because the story is absolute nonsense. And it's about to get worse. Yeah, so, like, the game starts off with, like, heavy racist overtones. And then that sort of kind of starts to blend into the background. And then the game's like, alright, but what about ghosts? What about ghosts? And then you're like, alright, okay, we'll do the ghosts and shit. And then the game's like, alright, no, we're done with ghosts now. That's done. How do you feel about, quantum physics? I think everybody should tweet Chucker Carlson green M&M porn. And I'm not talking like, I'm not talking, you know, Eki or anything. Like, I'm talking full-on just dick spewing cum everywhere porn. Just the nastiest, the most disgusting, filthiest fucking porn you can possibly come up with a green M&M involved. I can't believe that's a thing that I have been pushed to say in this, the year of our Lord, whomever, 2022. So we got a new hat. Decreased weapon reload times by 30%. That's, interesting. Yeah, some green M&M goatsay. Get some green M&M goatsay and just send it to that fucking loser. Honestly, I hope his inbox is just filled with nothing but porn. And not even porn you can jerk off to. Just disgusting, awful, ugly porn. Porn that's about as attractive looking as an NFT. Send him the NFT of porn. That is what Tucker Carlson fucking deserves. Not even porn you can beat it to. I don't want something that he can actually get off on. I want him to feel fucking miserable looking at it. Like, at most, you'd probably get a couple hate wanks out of it, and you'd feel really... It's like you're looking... It's almost like you get done wanking, and you just see yourself in the screen, and you just feel this incredible shame. And that's what I want him to feel while looking at green M&M porn. Get some more carbine. I don't ask for much in life.
Come here, child. Oh, come on, I don't bite. My, oh my, how you have grown.
Tell me, what am I?
Look at you, child, you're a mess.
Let go of her.
Elizabeth, everything I've done to keep you safe.
Safe from what?
Seed of the prophet shall sit the throne and drown in flame the mountains of man. But the Archangel revealed something else. Beware, prophet. Beware the false shepherd, Booker DeWitt. For he shall be as a wall between her and destiny.
Why?
DeWitt, I'm a fool. I've sent mighty armies to stop you. I've rained fire on you from above. I did all of that to keep you from her, when all I needed was to tell her the truth. Ask him, child. Ask him what happened to your finger. Ask DeWitt.
Let go of me.
Ask him. Ask the false shepherd. Tell her. Tell her, false shepherd. Tell her the truth.
My hand.
Tell her. Tell
Please
her
let
about
go.
her finger.
She's your daughter, you son of a bitch! And you abandoned her! Was it worth it? Huh? Did you get what you wanted?
Booker.
Tell me!
Booker.
Tell me!
It is finished.
Nothing is finished!
Booker.
You locked her up for her whole life!
Booker.
You cut off her finger, and you put it on me!
Booker, stop it! You killed him. What did he mean? Huh? You tell me, what did he mean about my finger?
I don't know. Yeah, I just assumed you were born with it. I don't know.
Your nose. It's bleeding.
What? Elizabeth, I swear to you, I have no idea what he was talking about.
You too. You just can't remember it.
No. I'll prove it to you. We'll destroy the siphon. The answer's behind one of your doors. You just have to open it.
Destroy the siphon? It's the entire tower, Booker. How are we gonna do that?
I don't know. But I'll think of something on the way.
So yeah, remember how, like, unsatisfying Bioshock 1 was after, you kill Andrew Ryan, and you don't even get to kill Andrew Ryan, it's just a fucking QTE sequence where it does it for you?
Locked.
And all of the noises are just redlining. This game should have just been called Redline, even though there's already an anime that people really like.
Elizabeth! The bird, Elizabeth! I lost control. He's coming!
No, he isn't.
And
Where is he?
guess where we are.
It's okay. It's all right. I'm here. Just let go.
Elizabeth, I'm sorry.
Yeah!
What is this place? Elizabeth?
It's a doorway. One of many. This way.
What do you mean it's a doorway? Where are you going?
Oh, come on. Yes, it's this way.
What Comstock said about your finger. Is there an answer here? Do you...
Down here.
Couldn't just make this its own thing. No, we gotta go back to fucking Rapture.
Over here, Booker. This is where we have to go.
Why? What is going on? Elizabeth, what do you mean this is a doorway?
I'll have to show you.
So all of this sucks. I hope you enjoy this because this just absolutely sucks. All of this is garbage.
City at the bottom of the ocean. Ridiculous.
You're in a city in the clouds! Yes, it's underwater. This is Rapture from the first Bioshock game.
Thousands of doors. Opening all at once. My God, they're beautiful.
The stars.
Yes, Elsie, how you doing? Appreciate you being here. We're having a great day. You too, Funke. Think I missed you. But yeah, no, we are currently...
Come on.
We came at... We
Come on,
just...
it's this way.
We just ended up in Rapture from the first game. And now we're gonna get an explanation for everything, and you're gonna hate it. Because it sucks.
Are you going to open it?
It's no good. Damn it. I thought once we were here, I could fully control it. I thought...
What is that?
It's a key.
Where did it come from?
It's always been there. I just couldn't see it.
That's nonsense! Stupid!
See? Not stars. They're doors.
Doors to...
To everywhere. All that's left is the choosing.
So I'm gonna stop the game, because we need to have a little talk about this. So essentially, I'm gonna just spell it out, because this game really thinks it's being smart here. It's not. Every single... Well, actually, I don't think Bioshock 2 did. I gotta go back and look at... But basically, Bioshock 1 starts at a lighthouse. Bioshock 3 starts at a lighthouse. So essentially what this whole section is about is that this is the reason why there are so many Bioshock games, and this is also the reason why there's going to be more Bioshock games. Bioshock 2 ends at a lighthouse. So essentially, the point of this is basically just to sell you on more Bioshock sequels. Enjoy.
What are all these lighthouses? Why are we... What?
There are a million worlds. All different, all similar. Constants and variables.
What?
There's always a lighthouse. There's always a man. There's always a city.
It wasn't in 2.
Know this.
I can see them through the doors. You, me, Columbia, Songbird. Sometimes, something's different. Yet the same.
Constants and variables.
Yes.
Let us say big words because they make us sound smart.
Look,
It's us.
not exactly. We swim in different oceans but land on the same shore. It always starts with a lighthouse.
This is stupid!
Understand?
We don't need to. It'll happen all the same.
This is stupid!
Because it does. Because it has. Because it will.
It's stupid!
They all lead us to
No one tells me where to go.
Oh, shut the fuck up, Booker. Just shut the fuck up. We've just basically landed in Jonathan Blow territory at this point. But no, this is 100% the series going up its own ass and just dying in there. Yeah, so basically what this game is trying to do now after all... So, yeah, this is why I don't like this game. There's a bunch of things. Obviously, the Daisy thing really fucks me off big time. But this game is trying, like I said at the very beginning of streaming this game punches at a weight that's above its own class. Like, so far out of its own class. And the problem that this game has is that it's trying to do too many different things. So Bioshock 1 was a critical look at Randianism, objectivism. And Bioshock 2 was really more about maternal control and being able to be one's own person. Those are basically the central themes to those two games. And even though Bioshock 1 plays on long after it really should, and then you have Fontaine after Andrew Ryan, it still maintains its theme. And same with Bioshock 2. No matter how much it kind of sucks, it still maintains its theme. This game doesn't have a theme. It has multiple themes. Its first theme was the one we dealt with at the start, racism. Okay. Our second theme was the supernatural, tying slightly into parallel worlds and quantum physics and things like that. So then it was kind of like, all right, well, we're sort of supernaturally, and then in the next part, it starts to try to be more science-y, these are parallel worlds, and they all lead to different worlds, and each world has different versions of us, or different versions of our story. So it's so many different themes, and it's so disjointed because none of it connects. Like, they send us back to Rapture as fan service, which sucks. It sucks, because this could have been its own thing. And instead, no, we've got to drag us back to the same fucking thing that we've seen in the first two games. We've already got 2 games worth. That's like 40 hours worth of Rapture. We don't need more. And then there's a DLC that takes us back to Rapture for this game. So those are the big problems with this up to this point. The rest of this is just fucking nonsense. It is literally just this game trying to sell us on more sequels, which is funny because, as Funke mentioned, something happened after this game was released. Levine decided he wanted to close Irrational Games and then rebuild with a smaller team. So the company who made this doesn't even exist anymore, as far as I remember. I'm pretty sure he disbanded Irrational and started his own thing. So, like, even though Levine could still definitely work on Bioshock, it wouldn't be the same people who made these games. So it's just, I hate this game. I hate everything about it. Its morals are wrong, its themes are goofy and disjointed, and it's about to get a lot worse.
I was here 20 years ago, right after Wounded Knee. I was looking for...
Come on now, time's a-wasted.
Why were you here?
Are you ready to have your past erased? Are you ready to have your sins cleansed? Are you ready to be born again? Take my hand.
No, I don't want to.
You already did, didn't you?
And this also, I think it's also about fatalism and causality. Like, oh my god. So yeah, I hope you're ready for this.
Are you ready to be born again?
I am.
Do you hate your sins?
I do.
Do you hate your wickedness?
Yes.
Do you want to clean the slate, leave behind all you were before, and be born again in the blood of the Lamb? Jesus, wash this man clean. Father, make him born again. Lord,
stop it.
What are you doing to it? Get off me! Get off! Son!
You didn't go through with
You
it.
think a dunk in the river's gonna change the things I've done? Let's get out of here. Hey, these doors of yours, they're all tears, right? Well, open one up. Open one up to Paris. I want to be shut of all this.
Not until we find Comstock.
Comstock's dead.
No. He was here. This way.
It also doesn't understand how the parallel worlds apparently interact with one another, because basically the way that it was showing us between all those sections in Columbia is that when you did something in one parallel world, that overlapped in the world that you came from, or maybe another world entirely. Because in one world we killed a bunch of people, right? And then in the next world we see that those people are still alive, but they know that they died in another world. How? There's no fucking connection for that. It's just... It's like they threw a bunch of shit together. But yeah, no. Here you go.
Bring us the girl and wipe away the debt.
This is the man who hired me to find you.
Really?
Yes, the girl for the debt. Wait, no, this is wrong. What is this? There's no baby. I remember. No, there was no baby, and if there was, I sure as hell wouldn't give it over to this guy.
Booker, you don't leave this room until you do.
Do it. Time is running short. Bring us the girl and wipe away the debt.
Go ahead.
No.
You can wait as long as you want. Eventually you'll give him what he wants.
How do you know all this?
I can see all the doors, and what's behind all the doors. And behind one of them, I see him.
Comstock. What choice do I have?
The debt's paid. Mr. Comstock washes you of all your sins.
This is so goddamn stupid.
Bring us the girl and wipe away the debt.
There was no baby. The deal was I go to Columbia to get you.
Booker, you're bleeding.
Oh. Remember. But I remember.
Now we've upset him.
I don't expect this next bit will do much for his mood.
Come on.
God, this is so stupid. I can't stop saying it's stupid because it's so fucking stupid. I hate this game's explanation for everything.
Comstock's dead. We can just go on with our lives. You don't need
Dead? You mean like Chenlet? Like Lady Comstock? No. He is alive in a million worlds. It's not over because the Prophet is dead. It will only be over when he never even lived in the first place.
Hey. Hey, the deal's off. You hear me?
Rather unstable.
The deal is off. Give her back. Give her back.
Fine, are you mad?
Give her back, you son of a bitch.
It's ready! Go!
No. No.
Shut down the machine!
No.
Shut it down! Shut down the machine now! Do it!
Give me back my daughter. No.
That's so stupid!
Anna. No. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Anna, I'm sorry.
This game is so stupid.
She's gone, Booker. Anna's gone. You shared this room with your regret for almost 20 years. Until one day, a man came to you, offered you a chance at redemption. A chance for us to live together.
I told you it would work.
We already know it works. The question is, will he?
Anna.
You suppose he branded himself as some sort of penance?
Sure.
Don't see the point. What's done is done. What's done will be done. I suppose the brand is his hair shirt, as he is ours.
Wipe away the debt.
Well, the brain adapts.
I should know. I lived it.
Booker, wake up. Booker, wake up. This is where it started.
I sold you. I sold you.
To your credit, you did try to weasel out of the deal.
This is all Comstock's fault. What if I went back? Killed him before he did any of this?
Things get set in motion.
How would one know how far back to go?
That's the only way to do it. Go back to when he was born. And I'll smother the son of a bitch in his crib.
Have I mentioned yet how stupid all of this is? Because I found this stupid back when I first played it, and I find it even stupider now as an adult.
Booker, are you sure this is what you want?
I have to. It's the only way to undo what I've done to you.
Booker DeWitt, are you ready to be born again?
Why are we back here?
This isn't the same place, Booker.
Of course it is. I remember.
Are you ready to leave behind all that has gone before? Wipe the slate clean.
Who are you?
You chose to walk away, but in other oceans, you didn't. You took the baptism. You were born again as a different man. It all started not just in this world, but in all of ours.
Smother him in the crib.
Smother, 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 smother. Before the choice is made, before you are
And
reborn.
what name shall you take, my son?
He's Zachary Comstock. He's Booker DeWitt.
Both.
Ah! I hate this! I hate this! It doesn't make any sense! It's so bad! It's trying so fucking hard to be smart, and it's failing! Yeah, give me all my trophies, you piece of shit game. Fuck you. Fuck this game. Fuck all of that ending. There was such hackneyed, half-assed horseshit. None of that works. And again, like, the biggest problem is that there's too many things happening. There's too many things happening. Like, there's too many different themes it's trying to go for, and none of them land anywhere. And then they try this. And, like, this just from any kind of logical direction makes no sense. It creates this kind of weird infinite looping plot line where essentially we're in media res. When we start as Booker in the game, we're starting after Booker became Comstock in it, but no, that doesn't even make any sense unless the lighthouse was a tear itself. And that would actually, if they had made the lighthouse a tear itself, then it would make sense. But the two Bookers existing in their exact same world doesn't work unless Comstock was hopping from tear to tear. At no point did, between dealing with Comstock and being around Columbia, and at no point did, like, was there any tears that kind of brought Comstock into Booker's realm? And while the Lutesses absolutely can open tears, at no point did they. They didn't open any tears when we first dealt with, when we were with the whole Comstock thing. We were literally in the world with Comstock. So the only way for that to have worked was that A, Booker had to go through a tear first, or B, Comstock had to go through a tear. But that's never said in the game. It's never stated that Comstock ever went through a tear and ended up in Booker's world, because otherwise he would have just gone back to his own time, his own door. So even on that point, this game doesn't work. But the worst part is how everything leading up to this meant nothing. I said in one of the first couple of streams of this game that everything we were hearing from Comstock would be rendered moot by the ending. And everything that Comstock said and did was rendered moot by the fact that he was Booker the entire time. And the other thing too is, like, they could have done something interesting where, like, okay, Booker goes down one path, becomes a raging racist piece of shit Comstock. Booker goes down another path and becomes the opposite of that, a good person, right? But they didn't do that. They put Booker square in the middle and only showed him go off to the wrong side, to the bad side. They didn't show a Booker that goes to the correct side, the right side of things. So there's so many fucking balls dropping all over the place. It's almost like you're in a gay porno. And the story just sucks. It sucks. The first act is terrible. Everything up to Daisy dying is fucking terrible. It's miserable. It's just horribly written. And then we're gonna throw in some supernatural shit, and then at the end, oh, by the way, multiverse. Like, even more multiverse bullshit than we had before. It didn't know what it wanted to do, and so it just did everything but wrong. It's such an infuriating game on so many levels. The gameplay is bad. A lot of the gameplay mechanics are actually a step back from Bioshock 2. And just the characters aren't interesting. The locations, like I said it at the start, it's a good looking game. It's a beautiful looking game, and they don't do enough with it. They just don't. And then they just go half-assed with this ending. It's just so frustrating. Making Comstock basically be a version of Booker is quite possibly one of the dumbest routes they could have gone with this. I would have rather they just made it all a dream, or just do the Booker died at the start and everything that happened is just his brain, flatlining. Like, I would have taken that over this. This is just it tries so hard to land and it can't. It doesn't land at all. Musically it's good. It's got a good soundtrack. Got some good tracks in it. There's some weirdness with some of the combat tracks being they almost sound more horror game-ish than what you would expect for this. But no, just trying to tie this to Bioshocks 1 and 2 is stupid. And then basically kind of just going like, hey, we can make a lot more games now based on this. And it's like, no, like, don't tell me, the player, you're going to make more sequels in the game. Just make the next sequel. That ending is just so up its own ass, and I just can't stand it. Oh, God. But yeah, no, this game's politics are terrible. I'm probably not going to play the DLC then, because, like, I got my fill of 1 and 2. Oh my God, no. If they had tried to pull what Resident Evil 8 did, I would have absolutely... I probably wouldn't even have bothered playing it again. I liked Resident Evil 8, but them tying it back into Resident Evil 1 was so unbelievably stupid, in my opinion. I did not like that plot twist at all. This game, though, is like... I'm trying not to repeat myself, because nobody likes people repeating themselves. I'm just very... yeah, I'm not actually angry. I'll play it up a little bit for laughs, but like, I genuinely think this game sucks. It's frustrating from a gameplay standpoint because instead of having tons of weapons, you gotta hold on to 2. And then to top that all off, it kind of does what Afterfall did. It gives you a bullshit ending that kind of makes everything that you did up till then completely pointless. It absolutely shits on literally everything that precedes it. It's a terrible game. Don't do time travel. There's only one game that does time travel. 2 games that do time travel that I liked. A Crack in Time, the Ratchet & Clank game, and Singularity. I don't think there's any other game I've played where I was like, yeah, no, that time travel thing worked out. Singularity does it really good. Like, bringing us back to Rapture makes me feel like this was just creatively bankrupt. You had this completely interesting idea about dealing with a dude, dealing with racism. We could have just made the whole game about dealing with racism, and that would have been fine. But, like, they couldn't even get the racism right because they started to argue, well, the anti-fascists should be just as bad as the fascists because violence is wrong no matter what you do. And it's like, we had a war about this. We had a literal war. Like, we've got a lineage of video games and movies literally about how beating up and killing and shooting fascists is a good patriotic thing. And you're trying to tell me that it's wrong? And then like I said, the fact that they turned Daisy from this sort of important freedom fighter to this feral, angry creature just feels so painfully racist. And then we forget about it completely. It's like the Vox just turn up as enemies at that point. Like there's nothing left of that story. And then it's all about Booker and Elizabeth, but they're not interesting enough characters to carry the story. Once you get past that first section and after Daisy's done, the story just completely, like, it's already pretty down low, but it just goes even further down low. It is just, the quality of that story is all the way at the bottom. But this is nice, so I'm going to be quiet while this goes on, because it's actually kind of sweet, and it's one of the little parts of this I enjoy.
Then it goes, what a home. So here, we'll play it one more time. Went back home, Lord. Home was lonesome. All my brothers, sisters cry. What a home so sad and lonely. And then it's missing the next line. That's what I'm saying. Like, this is the second, that's the third, that's the fourth, but then. And I don't think that's supposed to say lone.
Probably lonely. We're missing one. We'll get the actual. Nothing else.
Can we run it through this video lyrics or there are loved ones in the glory whose dear forms you often miss when you close your earthly story. Will you join them in their bliss? Will the circle be unbroken?
Should be like slowed down a little bit since it's the last verse.
You can do that. Sounds
Otherwise,
cool,
there's like, well, otherwise there's just like an abrupt ending, right?
All right. Well, what I want to do. You guys are really, really, really good. What I want to do is
make it worse.
I want to take the tempo down a little bit if we can.
Can we get that song in NFT?
Like, Booker, if you could just be sort of like
There, Troy.
picking away at the beginning first, and then sort of.
How about that scarf? Do you want to make that scarf an NFT?
You guys kind of find the tempo together a little bit.
Or can I get that scarf NFT, Troy?
I want it to feel. You guys are so excellent and professional.
Yeah, no, it won't be like that.
I want to make it sound like it's not like
Sure.
Sheryl Crow and Eric Clapton in the session.
There's a specific note in that song that I'd like to have an NFT. No, Levine isn't. Troy Baker is. Troy Baker's into NFTs.
Yeah, Joplin,
Ex-Tina.
Britney Spears, and Seal.
There it is. I wanted to... Okay, so... We had a lot to say about this game. And it looks like this... I think this is the team that ported. But, yeah. So, that was Bioshock Infinite. There's a little more credits left to go, and obviously we're going to run through these, but I kind of wanted to... I was frustrated and angry and, ranting, and as much as I'm going to rant about it, at the same time, I kind of wanted to end it on a little more of a positive note. That's why I shut down for the song, because I actually really like the song a lot. I was hoping it was going to be a good moment to end the stream on, but that's right. This was ported up to I think this is an HD collection of it, so we got to go through them as well. But yeah, no, yeah. So I mean, those were the issues that we had with the game. There are good things in the game. There are good things in the game. I wish that the codex, those little codex moments, were ones that we had to solve, like, actually using the code books. Like we did with Gibbous, where we had to do a cryptogram to read a book to get the answer to a puzzle. I really would have liked them to have done that. But, I mean, yeah, we got through almost every single locked door. We ended up maxing out our lockpicks at the end of it. The music was great. The graphics were really good. There's some hitches here and there in the animations. But yeah, no. Not a good story.
Anna?
Is that you?
And an equally dumb Coda. So unfortunately, we don't get to end the stream on a very positive note with a very sweet song. We get to end this stream on an absolutely pointless and unnecessary stinger. So that was Bioshock Infinite.